Right. So, like I said, welcome to the Threads of Change Spotlight session this evening. And I'm Cindy. I'm your courage coach, and I'm also the curator of this group and this YouTube channel if you're watching from YouTube. And today we are celebrating the power of small wins because progress is rarely built in grand leaps and great big projects. It really is created bead by bead. So I want you to think of your progress like making a piece of jewelry. And if you've ever made a piece of jewelry, you'll know that it's put together one bead at a time. And tell me, have you ever made your own jewelry or made jewelry? But I want you to think of your progress like making a piece of jewelry, one bead at a time. Whether you're making earrings or necklaces, bracelets, anklets, every bead is a choice that you make. And it's the same way with progress. Every bead is a choice that we make, an action that we take, or a moment of clarity that we've honored. So, in the chat, I want you to share this. If your week was a necklace this past week, or maybe even just today, would it feel short and simple, long and colorful, or describe it in another way? So the truth is, why do we focus on small wins? Why do small wins matter? Because small wins aren't really small at all. They build self-trust. Each bead that you add to your necklace of life says, I followed through. So it helps build that self-trust. And when you're working with children as well, whether they're, young children or adult children, allowing them to thread the beads by themselves instead of you stepping in and doing it for them, it builds that self-trust. And it helps them to realize that, yeah, I guess I can follow through. And then these beads in our life, they create momentum. So one bead leads to the next bead and to the next bead. And they also give us motivation. How can that be? When we see progress, even if it's bead by bead, we want to keep going. So if we recognize those small steps, then we're going to, I believe, feel more motivated. Too often, high achievers discount those small steps because we think that only the big milestones count, so to speak. But in reality, the beads hold the whole strand together. So each one of those beads, each one of those experiences, each one of those small milestones are what hold our life necklace together. So here's a quick question for you to post in the chat. What's one small win or one bead that you usually overlook, but actually matters a lot to your own well-being? Think about that. Taking a walk, having an afternoon tea, closing your laptop on time when you said, "That's it, I'm done," putting the phone down, "That's it, I'm done." Saying no to an extra commitment. So put it in the comments, in the chat. What's one small win that often gets overlooked, but really makes a big difference in our well being? Now, let's take a moment to put this into practice. And if you have a pen nearby, or maybe you can open the Notes app on your phone, and I want you to write down this journaling prompt. What's one bead I've added this week? And if you want to get more specific, what's one bead I added today? It could be something professional. Like for me, I was had an interview today that's going to be posted in a few days. And so that was something professional I did. That was one of the beads that I put on there. It could be sending out an email or a text. Um, that bead could be something personal too, like choosing to rest over rushing, or maybe even relational. So, like listening with your full presence, or reaching out to someone that is having a rough time, and just telling them something special and valuable about who they are. So type it in the chat if you want to share. What bead did you add this week or today? Or maybe just in the last hour. I know there's a post in the group that I posted. I think I do it just about every week in there. For you to share your small wins. And I don't often get any comments in there. So I'm wondering, what people think that is. What are some things in your life? They don't have to be necessarily even a win, but those beads of life that you are adding to your necklace. And I want you to get in the habit of celebrating every bead, every single bead, every win, every step forward, every time you learn from a mistake, no matter what size. Those beads belong on your strand, and they are there for a reason. So in the chat, you can also celebrate someone else's bead. So you can clap hands, you can cheer. If you see someone's comment, cheer them on, and just recognize each other's progress, because it multiplies the momentum. And you're welcome to share if you noticed someone in your life that you work with that added a bead to their life's journey that is small, but you are celebrating for them because it was such a big step for them. So I want you to notice, if you think about each thing as a bead, like on these, I've got a yellow bead, I've got three small blue beads, and then a little blue crystal dangling on the end. So that kind of represents different types of things, activities, action steps in our day. Let's represent my day. Two or three or four or five different beads added to my earrings or to my life's necklace. They add up to something really beautiful, useful, helpful, supportive, and maybe even pretty and memorable. So there is power in celebrating the small wins. It's not just about taking that action itself, it's about the shift in how we see ourselves. And that's kind of what the scope of self-expansion is expanding how we see ourselves, especially if you are in a season of transition, of change. The old beads are just falling off right and left. And as you put on those new beads, you will begin to trust yourself even more deeply. So today's spotlight was on recognizing the value of each one of those beads, each one of those small wins. And this is exactly what we're going to expand on in our Clarity Challenge. And it is tomorrow, the 23rd. It's 90 minutes and we'll be in a private Zoom room. It won't be live streamed. And we're going to spend a little bit of time spotting triggers that might drain us, talking about anchor practices or those beads of life that you can use, those action steps that will help you to reset. And then you'll also get a 7-day micro plan that you can actually do. It will give you a plan of action for the coming week. So if you're ready to keep adding beads to your strand, then join me for the Clarity Challenge. I'm going to drop the link down in the chat, and you are welcome to click on it and get registered. And for those who attend, you will also have access to the recording for that. So, your next step here as we close out this week's Spotlight session is to be sure that you're signed up for Spotlight reminders so that you never miss a session. And each week I send a complimentary resource to your inbox. And this week's resource is the Celebrating Small Wins handout. And in that handout, there are prompts, affirmations, and a practice to help you track your beads each and every day. So I want you to remember that progress is created bead by bead. Celebrate every one and watch your piece of jewelry become something strong and beautiful. And don't forget, your peace and purpose grow from the steps you choose. So thank you very much for being here. Keep adding beads to your um, necklace of life, and hopefully I will see you at the Clarity Challenge tomorrow.